my work is about tuning women back into their authentic voice and their authentic experience of being in a female body. And so, in one session that we do, we put some music on and we enter into touch. So, we start at the crown of the head and we just literally exhale the fingers all the way down through the body, down the neck, down the chest, down the heart. And that exhale just allows them to soften. So as I said before, I work a lot with the nervous system. So we discover what downregulated pleasure looks like. And I teach them that their true pace exists in their body and they need to find it, because often women are speeding up their sexuality to meet their partners, because men naturally have a faster sexuality than we do. And so by doing this, by having these fingertips go all the way down the body and playing sensual music, the softness will keep coming in. And these are practices that when you do them every day for like 5 minutes, I work with busy women who have busy lives and who have big jobs. So they need practices that they can integrate. And this is what makes the difference, is 5 little minutes of softening over a month. Big difference. Yeah.
Hi, beautiful, and welcome back to the Sexuality podcast. I truly appreciate you for tuning in and you enjoy this podcast, because my purpose with the Sexuality podcast is to share, educate, for you to learn and evolve and become more enlightened, but also inviting guests that can share their expertise so that you can also find ways to elevate yourself and find out more therapists, coaches, or even just become inspired by the people that I have on this podcast, their entrepreneurial journey. So you become also inspired to pursue your dreams and business in life. And I'm so honored that I have met this woman, or that we had a conversation today. The next guest I'm going to present soon. I mean, like, I've learned so much of our conversation. I learned so much in all conversation I'm having with my guests on this podcast. And I believe I think it was Maya Angelou that you will always remain young when you are open to learn more. But if you feel like you know everything, then you're old. So I love that quote, because I really want to learn all the time. Even if I feel like I have learned a lot, I feel like I want to continue to learn, because I want to expand, and also especially being a servant of humanity, being a coach and therapist, and it's so beautiful. There are many different tools out there, and the next guest I'm going to present now she is like, wow, what she said during the conversation is so profound, because the thing about sex, especially for women, is such a taboo to talk about it, to enjoy your body. And what she's sharing about birth is like giving birth, how it's supposed to be. I think it will be mind blowing for you to learn about birthing and sex and all those things. So her name is Freya, and she's a tantric intimate coach, and I feel that you will really be blown away of her expertise and teachings, and her knowledge within this field. And I'm not going to ramble anymore. I'm just like very excited for you to tune into this conversation. So let's get into it.
Hello, Freya. So welcome to the podcast.
Hello, it's such an honor to be here. Very excited.
Yeah, beautiful. So I always ask my guests before they share what they do. I ask them who they are, so that my audience can know um, the personal part of who you are, and the journey of why you became what you're doing and who you are as well. So please share who is Freya. You have to say your surname. I don't want to pronounce it wrongly. So who is Freya?
Well, I'm Freya McFarlane, and I'm a tantric intimacy coach. And it's been a very interesting journey to arrive where I am today. And I'm really excited to share this story with you.
Yeah, so let's hear it.
Well, I started in midwifery when I was really young, and I had this deep, strong desire to go into midwifery and to help women give birth. And it just hit me when I was at school. It was like, there is nothing more profound, more dynamic, more exciting than being there when a baby is being born.
Mm,
And so I went on this journey and became an apprentice in Mexico and Guatemala with traditional midwives and helped to really understand what childbirth was from the natural standpoint. And I did that for about a year here, and then I went back to the UK and studied at university and went and worked on the NHS. And it completely changed when I went into the medical system.
yeah, please hear about that. So
Yeah,
let's hear that.
well, I had been in Mexico where women were so deeply in their bodies, where I was working with natural practices, where pacing was invited, lighting was low, and women were encouraged into their bodies. And then when I went into the NHS, it was just such a different experience. High lighting, high intervention, lots of noises. And women didn't have the same level of confidence in their bodies. They
Mm,
didn't have the same awareness about I can do this. Like there is no other way. I am doing this. It was like, "Well, we'll see. And maybe if I can have a natural birth, I'll do it." And I just noticed the attitude difference.
mm.
And I got lost in the NHS. Like I lost myself. I lost myself to the trauma. I lost myself to the amount of times I was dissociating, and I didn't feel prepared with the tools adequate to support within a broken system because I was still really young. And it wasn't
How
until
old were you? How old were you when you went to the medical school in UK?
when I went to I was 21.
Oh, one. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went to this conference, the Royal College of Midwives conference, the annual one, and they had a speaker there called Sheila Kitzinger. And she was this 86-year-old glamorous anthropologist. And she got up on stage and had a full-blown, expansive orgasm. And she said, birth and sex are related. And if you're not including sexuality within birth, you're not going to have the success you need to get your baby out in a natural way. If your relationship to sex is shit, you're not going to be able to do this. If you don't look at your pussy, if you don't think about your pussy, if you're not inspired by your pussy, like just just don't bother. And I was just sitting there like, "Oh my goodness. I am missing the link in childhood."
Exactly. And I'm just so sorry before you continue because I think this is so profound because I think in society we're trained to like not to feel into our bodies and
Yeah.
not to feel into our the vagina.
Yeah.
And really not to connect the mind with the body and with emotions. Let's continue. I want to hear more. So what happened during that lecture after she had the orgasm? What happened later?
I mean, she was making all the sounds up there. 86-year-old glamorous anthropologist, like, just, and then at the end, she would say, "Do you hear it? Do you hear how similar this is?" And I looked around the crowd, and half the crowd was a little bit tight and uncomfortable because this is the
Okay.
UK. And the other half was inspired, and I was on the inspired camp. I just, from that moment on, everything became about how I can integrate sexuality and birth together. I was like talking about it with all of my clients and talking about it because I was still at university at that point. I was like writing about it and I was just so excited because I felt like I'd found the key. And I realized then when I started seeing it through that lens that women were more concerned about shitting themselves during birth, or they didn't want to look at their pussies and they didn't want to feel that sensation. And at this point, I was also starting to burn out because I was being involved in so many intervention births, and I was up late and then studying. It was intense. It was so intense. And so I took a break from burnout and I decided to go deeper into my own sexuality and my own body and heal. And from the experiences I'd had, because as I said, I was a young student midwife, and I didn't have a lot of the tools for trauma release. I didn't have the tools for embodiment. I didn't have the tools for sensation tracking. I didn't know why I was feeling tense, seeing what I was seeing. And so my heart was open. I was present with the women, but it was really challenging. And I noticed that the birthing space was not built for success in the way that it had been, but I'd seen it in Mexico. And so when I left and I started studying embodiment, I started to understand why the women I was seeing in the UK were not having the outcomes they wanted because they didn't have the relationship with their body.
Wow, 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 wow. And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, you see you burned out and you
Yeah.
had to like do the body work yourself.
Yeah.
Like you had to get to know to yourself because
Yeah.
before I continue, burnout, what I've heard is that your soul is telling you you're not using your energy the right way.
Yeah.
And also, before you can help others, you have to experiencing that by yourself. So, what happened when you stopped with the midwife work and you wanted to learn about sexuality and giving birth? What happened?
Well, I first had to come back deeply to myself. My moon cycle had been so disrupted, being up in the night and then up during the day and not getting adequate support there. And I during my time in midwifery, I was also starting to come online with how to treat my blood and oh my gosh, they didn't understand. Like I was collecting my blood when I was on the unit and I was like talking to my womb and I talked to anyone about menstrual blood if they were open to listening, but most of them just found me really weird. Um, and I quickly learned that the maternity system is not a place for feminine embodiment. And it's not even a place for femininity. And there was a moment where I was helping a woman and she wanted to be on all fours and she wanted to move and she didn't want to be on the bed and she didn't want to be hooked up to the machines. And I went out and I was told by one of the senior midwives, you have to get her on the system. You have to get her on the machine. And everything in my body screamed, fuck no.
Hmm.
She doesn't want that. She wants to be on all fours. And I realized that the priority was not the woman, the priority was the system. The priority was the operation of the system and the guidelines of the system, which are covertly operating as safety, but actually in a bigger way operating within the framework of what they think is right rather than what the woman needs in the moment. And that was a breaking point for me because I realized that the essence of my soul is governed by truth and by service to woman, not by service to a machine or a system. And so I had to leave. And when I left,
Hmm.
I went into my womb, I went into my heart, I went into my body. I did loads of yoga, I did loads of dance, I did loads of practices to come into my nervous system because my nervous system had become so broken in the system. And I started to track how much anxiety I'd been holding. I started to track that my breath was constricted. So I went deep into breath work. I went deep into the pelvis and discovering what my body had been holding for those years.
Mhm.
And when I went in, there was a lot of tears, but there was also a lot of joy. There was a lot of joy at doing this work, which I felt was so important. And I was really lucky because I have the support of my family. My family are very alternative, really. I was brought up on yoga and meditation, and my mum was into Abraham Hicks and Louise Hay. So when I told her all of this, she was so supportive. She was like, "You need to go into your body. It's time." And she'd been encouraging me, but I was like, "No, I don't. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm still really young."
Mm,
And then when I went in, I came back to her and I said, "You were right. I need to be in my body. I need to be deeper in my sensations."
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Wow. So, as you went through the journey of embodying, knowing your body, knowing everything, what led
Yeah.
you to become who you are today or what you're working on today?
So I was in Thailand and there was talk of this Tantra school there. And I was still holding on to this image of this orgasmic 86-year-old woman saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Use sexuality." And even though my family had taught me so much um, about yoga and meditation, and I'd ignored it for years, they didn't give me anything around sexuality. And I'd had a boyfriend, but I just didn't feel like I was really in my sex. And so I did this training to deepen my relationship to my pussy. And everything changed from that point. I felt like an oracular consciousness opened up in my body. And suddenly I went from having a hole down there to having a portal into the divine feminine. And she just started waking up and saying all these things. And I was just there to listen for quite a long time. She was like, "You need to press here and you need to make more sounds." And I hadn't made much sounds during sex for a long time. And I felt very constricted in my throat. And I suddenly started moving and undulating in my spine, and my pussy started talking. And the process of my pussy waking up was probably one of the most profound experiences in my body because she suddenly had a voice in me. She wasn't trapped. She suddenly could share with me when a relationship wasn't working, when I needed more rest, when I needed more connection. And I suddenly went from just putting my knickers on every day and that was it to I am connected. I
Mm,
am feeling, I am sensing, I am listening, I'm awake. And I would gaze at her and put flowers over her and cover her in oils. And it was incredible.
mm.
And I felt the divine feminine in all women waking up. And I'd been gazing into pussy for so many years when I was in midwifery, and I was enthralled by it. I was like, "Wow, this is so beautiful." But I hadn't actually found that beauty fully within myself.
I just love how you're being so unapologetic, saying my pussy. Like, I just love it so much. And as you were in Thailand, experiencing that, and also like you start to honor yourself, honoring who
Yeah.
you really are, the whole body, and also like connecting literally everything within you. Not and also maybe what happened when you gained that insight? What did you feel like? Because when you experience transformation, you experience some kind of resistance in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what kind of feelings came up before you enter into this heaven of loving yourself, your vagina? Yeah, like
Mhm.
what did you feel in the beginning before you enter into that portal?
I felt like I was entering something that was deeply timeless. That suddenly the whole reality of I came from this pussy, I came from this consciousness was suddenly coming awake. And as I deepened my relationship to Tantra, I realized that there was a worshipping of this portal, a worshipping of my own and other people's portals. So I did these practices where I would bow at other women's portals, at other women's pussies, and I would offer flowers and I'd start to cry. I'd start to cry because so few women have that experience of truly being worshipped. And there's such a difference between um, a vagina that's just put in knickers and emptied and bleeds, and then you put a tampon in once a month,
Exactly.
and then maybe you like wash her with some water or something else, to suddenly being fully worshipped, where pussy is being told, you are extraordinary, you are profound, you are an oracle, you are divine, you are devotion, you are expansion, you are where everything comes from, and I am in awe of you. And then suddenly your legs can open wider, your pussy can truly enter into the flowering of what it means to be open. And it's not caged, because actually I believe most pussies are trying to communicate on some level. And that's why I used to get loads, I'll speak for myself. I used to get loads of urinary tract infections when I was younger, partly because I was having too much rough sex and I was not warming myself up enough.
Mm.
And I was staying up really late when I was in midwifery, of course, and I was eating junk food, and that was impacting my pH. So many things were going on, and I was not listening to what she needed to thrive. And then once I shifted into what do you need to thrive, um, there was a completely different relationship that I was building with myself. And this is the cool part, is other people who were coming into my field to be relational with me were completely different too. Because how I feel about my pussy, just going back to the put your knickers on, give her a wash and stick a tampon up there once a month, to this is a pussy that deserves to be worshipped, my
Mhm.
partners were completely different. And
Yeah.
I would show them how I wanted her to be related to. And so I went from being this victim of like, oh, there's no man out there who treats my pussy very nice, and they all want to have fast sex and they all want to get in there quick. And I was damning the masculine. But actually, it's because I was damning
Mm.
myself. And so once I made that shift, I declared any man who comes into my field is so excited to worship me. And
Mm.
men who didn't want to worship my pussy, they just didn't even know how to show up anymore, and they didn't get past the portals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Faye, this is so beautiful. I'm learning so much because
Mm,
I have two babies or two children, and I'm
beautiful.
just thinking of the experience that I had. Like what you just said, like being being how to say, the machines are actually stored in your body. And my first birth was really, it was painful because I was in injected. Can you say that? I,
Yeah.
yeah. And the pain was so intense.
Mm,
It was so intense. I didn't have any control. But it went fine. And
mm,
then my second birth, it went really fast because I was like, I don't want to be injected again. But it came naturally. But it was
mm.
different because I was then, because I'm also trained as a rapid transformation therapist.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I made a recording for myself, like hypnotherapy, like
Yeah.
how I would feel in my body when I give birth and so forth. And
Mm,
when I was giving birth, I just felt I was in my body. It was different. I could feel every sensation, but
yeah.
not like the women that you shared in Mexico. But I was still in my body. It was different. I could feel when my baby wanted to come out,
Hmm.
more than to concentrate on the pain I felt in the first round. So my baby came more faster than the first one.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I really enjoy what you're saying, learning so much. And I know women who are going to listen to this will be like, wow, they have to like, it's, and I think we are in this time where people are waking up.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
have to be awakening is not only to be spiritual, it's more than that, it's to embody your body, know what your body wants, really, so that you can be that portal, that abundance that you want to be in your life. So please share more. What happened? So you were in Thailand and you practiced Tantra uh, practice for a year, or how many years?
It was it was over quite a few years that I was studying, and then I went into tantric bodywork, and yeah, it took many trainings. I think I took like 5 trainings. I was so into it, and I was learning so many different angles. So I studied classical tantra, I studied neo tantra, I then went and studied breath work, multiple breath work teacher trainings. And the beauty was that every single angle had something different. And my intention was always to bring it back to birth. I wanted
Mm.
to go back to get into the birth system, but it just didn't happen. And then I realized I really wanted to work with women. I wanted to work with women who were at many different stages of life. And there's been a beauty in that. And what really came about was changing my relationship to my body, changed my relationship to my partners. So I still haven't been a mum myself, and I'd love to be a mother. I know it will happen.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. And but I've supported so many women through their journey of entering pregnancy in an orgasmic way,
Mm.
having orgasmic conception. And then multiple friends started to ask me, will you attend my birth and bring your tantric magic to the table? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So it started to filter into my community in the UK. And that's what was really exciting, was seeing how everything I was learning in Thailand, and then I went to Bali as well, was
Yes.
filtering back to England and then to my own family. I remember this beautiful transition where my brothers and my sister and my dad, actually, for a while, they would kind of make fun of me, like, oh yeah, she's into sexy things now, and
Uh-huh.
she she's really gone on her exploration. And then there was a shift where they started coming to me and asking questions, not from a playful making fun of me place, but from a, okay, we see that you've done quite a lot of work around this, and I want to understand that. And
Yeah,
so
because sorry to interrupt, because really Tantra, when you hear the word Tantra, you just hear like, yeah, something sexy, sexual, and it is, but it's more powerful than that. It's like it's sacred. I can hear.
absolutely. And what I was seeing in my family, and then by that point I was working with clients, is that there was a disruption in the nervous system. And so when I'd studied Tantra, I was very much in the esoterics. We were working with practices and there was a lot of presence, but no one was really talking about the nervous system when I studied. And now I was seeing the need for the nervous system, the need to understand how chemical release works, the need to understand when you dissociate, and how important it was to bring in the science. And I think coming from a science background, when I was in midwifery, I was like, no, we have to take care of this. We can't just go and be in the practices. Like presence is important in birth. Understanding the science of what's happening is also really important. So that's when I started to really marry the pieces and explore the nervous system and bringing all the science that I learned from midwifery about the body. And that was exciting for me, really exciting,
Mm.
because at the time that conversation wasn't really happening.
Yeah. So you were in Thailand, went back to the UK, and started to integrate the learning of being a midwife and tantric practices. And what happened after that? How did you grow as a tantric intimacy coach?
Well, I'm I'm a person that learns a lot through community, through people, through relationships as well. And I had a really big relationship in my early 30s, where I moved to Canada, and I brought myself fully into being over there. Got got a permanent residency and was really committed to being in this relationship. And at the start, it was amazing. And I thought that all these principles of Tantra and connection were there. And then I started to see during the pandemic that the quality of relationship was not actually meeting me. And there was a lot of trauma coming in and a lot of attachment wounding. And when that relationship ended, I went so deep into attachment and my inner child and understanding how she had been wounded and understanding how she had self-abandoned. So it was like another layer of, okay, the world is showing me I need to go here, and
Mm.
now I'm going deep. And so then I went to Costa Rica for about a year and explored the principles of relating. And that was such powerful, important work to me. And I started bringing it in deeper into my work. And then I came back to, the person that we need to do the work with the most is really ourselves.
Yes.
And it was again that reflection that I had around pussy of when I am attached securely to myself, I'm going to attach
Mm.
security within others, which
Mm.
is really exciting to feel that balance point coming out again. And the mirrors just showing up to teach me. Yeah.
So beautiful. I would love to hear about more like client stories. Like, do you have any like, because this, I know that many people that listen to this would be inspired, but like if you have like one or two amazing story, it could be like someone who came individually or as in a relationship.
Yeah. I had a beautiful client who once listened to my podcast and came to a session with me, and then we ended up working together for 3 months in a program called Sacred Sexual Woman. And she was really longing to be pregnant. She was really longing to have a baby, and she was really longing to approach it in a tantric, embodied way. And she'd been on an IVF journey for quite some time, and she'd felt really disconnected um, from the depths of ease and the depths of knowing this is going to happen. And through the work that we did, the softening, the loving of self and the loving of pussy and coming into a relationship with all of the parts of herself, she was able to get pregnant, and she was able to do it in a sexy way and able to do it in an embodied way and able to do it in a ritualistic way. And I have multiple client stories like that where women are longing for it, and there's the need to soften around it, because sadly, the journey of becoming pregnant when it's not quite arriving for you, it can be really stressful.
Yeah.
And lots of my clients arrive and there's this tension, they're like looking at the clock for when they're going to ovulate. They're tracking everything, like we have to have sex right now.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It
they
becomes like the
know,
force instead of the
yes, they
enjoyment.
know. They're putting pressure on and they
Yeah.
know they need to change something. And it's
Mhm.
not necessarily going to see more doctors or not necessarily going to have more intervention. It's actually learning about the body. And if you come into deeper relationship, then you're going to have a different outcome. Yeah. And it changes the dynamic of the intimate relationship too, because often partners are feeling like, oh, you just want me for my cum. and and they're longing for a shift as well. So this is like bringing back the love, bringing back the romance and making it fun again.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So when you I don't like to use the word treat clients. Actually, these are humans. But when you're meeting your customers, these people that come to you, how does the session go? Just like if you want to share a little bit, does it go to enter into that tantric state?
So a lot of my work is about tuning women back into their authentic voice and their authentic experience of being in a female body.
Mm.
And so in one session that we do, we put some music on and we enter into touch. So we start at the crown on the head And we just literally exhale the fingers all the way down through the body, down the neck, down the chest, down the heart. And that exhale just allows them to soften. So as I said before, I work a lot with the nervous system. So we discover what downregulated pleasure looks like. And I teach them that their true pace exists in their body and they need to find it because often women are speeding up their sexuality
Exactly.
to meet their partners because
Yeah.
men naturally have a faster sexuality than we do. And so by doing this, by having these fingertips go all the way down the body and playing sensual music, the softness will keep coming in. And these are practices that when you do them every day for like 5 minutes, I work with busy women who have busy lives and who have big jobs. So they need practices that they can integrate. And this is what makes the difference is 5 little minutes of softening over a month, big difference. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you're working with women that are in their masculine energy.
Yeah.
They're always doing, but you're teaching them to be soft, to
Yes.
receive.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And through like really feel into their bodies.
Totally. I'm
Yeah.
also going into, we do a lot of repatterning. So a lot of discovering where have they been holding on to old stories? Where have they been holding on to anything that's keeping them from being their authentic self? So there may be things from their childhood, maybe things from society, maybe pieces that have come through the media, belief structures that are impacting how they think they need to show up as a woman. And that needs to be rewritten so as they can be in their authentic body and their authentic energy.
Mm.
And the amount of impact women have had to show up in a masculine form as female bodies and how much that disrupts our hormones, our natural circadian rhythm. We're on a 28-day hormonal cycle rather than a 24-hour cycle. And so I teach women how to manage their energy and their sexuality in different ways throughout the month. So rather than doing the same type of sexuality, which one time of the month can be really expansive, even if you're having hard, fast, incredible, potent sex during your ovulation phase, you feel great after that. But if you have that same type of sex at different times of the month, depending on where your energy's at, you can feel depleted. So
Exactly.
I'm teaching them about what does my body actually need right now? And instead of this is what my head thinks it likes, and this is what I know my partner likes, therefore this is what I'm going to deliver, no matter what my body says. Because we can enjoy it in the moment, but then we get these crashes afterwards. And I'm teaching them to track. Those crashes are related to you not listening to what's actually going on right now. And the body has 1,000 sensations and cues, which are coming online at so many different moments from when we wake up to when we go to sleep. And when we start to see these, we're inbuilt with a system that can recalibrate itself very quickly once we listen.
I mean, this is so beautiful, Freya, because I heard something that, or I read somewhere. I think it was I don't remember her name right now, but I saw it on Instagram saying that how men and women connects to sex, so
Mm.
that men men wants to have sex to have connection,
Yes.
but women wants to have connection before having sex. So
Yes.
what you're teaching your clients, your customers, the women that women is especially women, or do you also have men as clients?
I have men. I love working with men. So the power of men is amazing because once they do this inner work, they become like sexual Jedis and
Should I?
they they do and they're actually longing to be more powerful.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
so they go from their cock being the master and them doing what they think their cock wants at all times to suddenly them being the master. and then being able to attune themselves more wisely to a woman's needs and be able to slow everything down so they can attune to a feminine way. So I think like when I'm working with men, I'm really serving the woman as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, of course. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
so great. There was something I wanted to say about that, you know. Yeah, so you're learning, teaching women to connect with themselves. So
Yeah.
as they connect to themselves, then they know how to really tell their partners, this is how I want to be connected while we're having sex.
Yes. Yes. So we do a lot of education. We do so much around what pleasure mapping. So rather than a lot of men when they come to me, they're like, I just want to get to the pussy. I'm like, great, okay. Well, let's make that the last step. What are we going to do before then? And we go through how to touch a woman, how to feel a woman's body, how to track what she's experiencing, how to create a container, because often they don't have much of an idea of what that means. Asking, what would you like to explore this evening? And then when they set that as a boundary, they stick to it. So the men I work with are generally very inspired men who want to understand the female body more deeply. And they want to understand how to slow themselves down. And they want to work with their own nervous system. So a lot of men have, they come to me, they've got their own traumas, they've got their
Yeah.
own belief structures, the same as women, like I was talking about before. And the shift that they go through to be able to create a truly masculine container and hold their woman is amazing. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Wow, so beautiful. This is so beautiful. What you're doing is so important
Thank you.
because people, like I said before, I think people waking up now even more. But around sexuality is also very important. It's very deep what you're doing right now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so you have like from being midwife and then burning out and then you traveled to Thailand, Bali, uh
Mhm.
met someone. Did you meet him in Canada or
We met when we were both in Thailand. So he was
uh,
studying Tantra as well, and
okay,
we
okay.
went back to Canada. Yeah.
Okay. And then you moved back down to Costa Rica.
Hmm.
Now you live in Mexico
Well,
and
I'm partway between Mexico and the UK. So
mm,
after what happened when I was in Costa Rica, at that point, I'd spent years abroad, and I had this really strong calling from the UK of like, you need to bring this medicine home.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
need to, and I had this vision of churches and teaching in churches and really being in big energy fields. And that's exactly what happened. I went back to the UK and I was invited to offer these dances and somatic experiences with sensual energy inside churches in Bristol. And
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm really fond of doing this work in churches and castles. I love old buildings where we get to meet our ancestral sexuality.
Mm,
Because for me, when we look at our heritage, when we look at where we come from, not just in our recent history, but in our ancestral history, in our cultural history, we get to see more of the patterns that we're holding on to. And I'm originally from Scotland. My whole family are from that's McFarlane's, and I've had so many insights from my sexuality opening up into a shamanic way, where
wow.
where I can see where my lineage has gotten stuck. And I will have these incredible big sounds that come through me whilst I'm in sexuality. And I can feel it. It's like I'm healing the line. I'm opening something up. I'm releasing something that's been held in my body and in my womb that's not meant to be there. And so I actually will go back to Scotland sometimes and rent a castle and work with the depths of my sexuality and call in any part of my line that's ready to be healed and ready to be released. And I swear my pussy just opens up to it and my womb and I'll cry. I'll just really cry. I'll cry for the women in my history who never got the opportunity to feel what I feel. And I'll cry for my mother and my grandmother. And then it's just phew, so much more space.
Wow. So I love how you enter into your your ancestry. Like what now that you're doing this and your mother know this,
Yeah.
it has sisters as well. What how do they are they are you said they were asking questions, but are they practicing this for themselves now, or maybe they're not sharing this, but do you know if they're practicing the
Yeah.
things they have you have taught them?
Yeah, one of my most beautiful moments was my mom asked me if I would do an erotic dance journey, which is actually more about the woman going into herself. It's not so much about it's letting go of performance, it's letting go
Mm,
of any need to give your sexual energy to anyone else. And it's a healing journey around discovering your eros for yourself. And my mom asked me to do it in our hometown. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I had 30 women come in this town in the Cotswolds, which is the countryside in the UK. It's very beautiful. And she came, and at first, people didn't realize that it was my mum because there was a lot of new people who'd come in. And in the closing circle, she cried and she said, I'm so proud of my daughter for what she's doing in the world. And I know it's so important. And to
mm,
me, she's still a midwife, but she's a sexual midwife now. And she said there were parts of her that she hadn't felt, and she did some healing around her own birth. And I feel like she just became my dream client in that moment. I was like, oh yeah, mom, you're doing the work. You get it.
yeah, so beautiful. What a beautiful connection.
I love my mum. She's my first teacher. Even though she didn't cover any of the sexuality stuff, she taught me about how to love my body and
Mm,
how to really listen. Like I remember once when I was 9 years old, I came home, I was crying. I was like, some boy told me I'm ugly and I think maybe I am. I've got a weird shaped head and my funny nose. And she just took a breath and she was like, I think it's time we go to the mirror. And she took me up to her bedroom. She had this huge mirror, really beautiful. And she said, we're gonna take our clothes off now, if that's okay with you. And we're gonna do a little practice in front of the mirror. And we're gonna tell each part of our body that we love it. I was like, okay. And she gave me this her special oil, and she never let me use her special oil before.
mm,
And so I covered every part of my body from my hands to my toes to my face. And she's like, I love you just the way you are. It was so softening. She did this every day with me for, I think it was 2 weeks. And at the end of it, I was like, I think I get it now. I'm meant to love my body. And even if they say horrible things, it doesn't matter, does it?
great.
So yeah, she was very influential. And I still teach that practice to my clients. It's just really cool.
So beautiful. And I just wanted to reflect back to what you said that you one day want to be a mother. I'm just thinking,
Mm.
wow, what an amazing mother you will be, and your daughter and
Um,
sons learning
thank
from you. Like you're doing an important work so that you can be that present mom.
Yeah, I feel like so much of what I've done in my life is for my children and for future generations. I'm
Mm,
always aware of it. Like when I do my inner work, I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for my children and for all the children that are around me. Like I've got a lot of kids who have come through my friends and they adore me and I adore them and they call me Fairy Poppins. Which is
oh, so
cute.
beautiful. Yeah. I can believe that they feel that you're very magical when you're
Yeah.
with them. Yeah.
And the piece is that I've got clients who've come to me and said, oh, I feel selfish doing this. You know, who am I to focus on my sexuality? I'm like, well, you're going to touch women around you. And if you have children, you're going to touch those children because they're going to know deep at their core that who they are as sexual beings or who they are as women or who they are as little boys is safe. And that is not selfish work. That is profound generational healing that travels waves. And I've seen it. I've seen in my community how the women who work with me change their relationship to their kids. And they tell me, they're like, I I opened up about my menstrual cycle and I'd never done that before. And I opened up about sexuality and I let them, I've started making sounds and we talk about how healthy it is. And so I don't think it's selfish. I think it's actually important that we do this work so that we don't pass on any unnecessary shame, contraction
Mm.
around sexuality. I think we owe it to our kids to do this work.
Yeah, wow, so beautiful.
Mm.
Freya, I mean, just this conversation, I have learned so much. I have taken in so much for myself. And I do believe that we will keep in touch. Yeah, so yeah, so before we end, I would love you to share how can people connect with you and work with you?
Yeah, come find me on Instagram at Freya_McFarlane. And I would love to connect with you there. I am offering one-on-one journeys called Sacred Sexual Woman, and that is about so much of what we've talked about today.
Mm,
Going into pussy, going into body, going into the healing, working with the nervous system, and then learning the tools and practices that can shift that generational line, like we were just talking about. And the quality of shifting that you'll get within your body will reflect in how you're treated by men, how I've seen women be impacted so deeply where their whole body posture changes and they start to have pleasure. Because that's ultimately what it's about. So let's have more pleasure in the life, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. And one last thing though, is there something you want to share, like something very profound to our audience, or whoever going to listen to this, like advice you want to share before we end?
Mm. Well, I just touched on pleasure, and I want to say that pleasure is one of the most profound practices of personal transformation that you can go on. When you allow pleasure to ripple through every part of your body, whether it's paying a bill, whether it's touching a flower, whether it's doing the dishes, whether it's having a shower, to discover your pleasure is an act of beauty and service to the world because we emit a light, and the places where we've been holding on to pain, shame, distortion, trauma, they start to dissolve. And so I actually seek out places in my life where I'm not allowing pleasure in, and then I will penetrate it with pleasure. I'm like, I'm going to find so much pleasure in this. And I move my body and I open my throat and I make more sound. I'm like, this place deserves my pleasure. And that has been a revolution in my life. And I hope that you can find it too.
Wow, this is so beautiful, Freya. Such an honor to have you on the podcast, have this conversation.
Yes.
And I know people will reach out to you because we need more pleasure in the world and within our own in the world as well.
We do. It's not a luxury. It's not something you withhold from yourself until you're finished work or until you've done that annoying job. Like, it's not a withholder. And I think we learned that. I certainly did from certain members of my family that I'm not allowed to have pleasure until I've done my chores. And that expanded into my life. And now I put pleasure at the front rather than at the back.
Wow, that's deep.
Mm.
Yeah, Freya, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I look.
Cool. Yeah, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Oh,
love.
thank you.
So I hope you enjoy the conversation with Freya. I mean, it's like, I don't know about you, but I know it has changed a lot of perspective for about, giving birth and sexuality. And because like really sex is really sacred. And when you do the inner work, you will radiate confidence. And when you radiate confidence, you somehow attract the right people into your field. So I will leave every single link that you can connect with Freya, because I know she will help you individually, or if you are in a partnership, and she can also help you to elevate your romance. But also when it comes to giving birth or to get pregnant, I do believe she's the right person you can really connect to, because I mean, like I said, it's so beautiful to have connection with this type of people who has this expertise. It's like really rare to find someone very professional who can help you. And when it comes to intimacy, or when it comes to elevate yourself, but when it comes to knowing your body even more, so that we're not here to be ashamed about ourselves or feel guilty about anything. We're here to be our best selves and to enjoy ourselves. And like I said, spirituality is not about only the unseen world or the abstract. It's also about what's going on here and now, and to enjoy our body, and like she said, Freya, to have pleasure, to bring more pleasure into this planet Earth and into our lives as well. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I really hope that you're inspired to connect with Freya. And I appreciate you tuning in today, and see you on the next episode. You take care. Bye. Hey, so thank you so much for tuning in to this beautiful episode. And a cost-free way for you to support this podcast is if you're tuning in on YouTube, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you're tuning in listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow this podcast and also share with your friends. Thank you so much for being you, and may you always find your ways to bring your heaven down to earth. You take care.